I want you to picture something for me. Imagine your job is to sprint full speed on a literal sheet of ice. Slippery as a glass.
Right.
But you're not just running, you're carrying another human being. And then at like 20 miles an hour, you have to throw that person 11 feet into the air.
Spinning like a top.
Spinning like a top. And just trust, purely on faith and physics, that they'll land on a steel blade that's, what, 4 millimeters thick?
It is, it's organized chaos when you put it that way.
Yeah.
And if the physical part isn't terrifying enough, then you add the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world is watching, judges are analyzing every twitch. And you know that one tiny slip, I mean, it doesn't just mean a bruised knee. It means shattering 4 years of dreaming.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are heading straight into the eye of that storm. We're unpacking the short program of the pairs figure skating competition at the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
And if you saw the headlines this morning, you probably saw words like chaos, upset, and heartbreak.
It was a genuinely wild night in Milan. I mean, pair skating is usually defined by trust, by predictable physics, but last night, the big variable was just unpredictability.
We went in expecting a tight race.
We did. A tight race among these known giants, and we came out with a leaderboard that is, well, it's completely upside down.
So we have a lot to cover. We're looking at the NBC coverage, pulling in the commentary from Johnny Weir and Tara Lipinski, and looking at the scores to make sense of it all.
Right.
The headline is pretty simple. The favorites melted down, and a German pair just seized the moment. But before we get to them, help us understand the stakes here. Why is the short program so dangerous?
It really comes down to math and psychology. In skating, you have two parts, right? The short and the free.
The free skate is the long one.
Exactly. It's 4 minutes long. If you miss a jump early, you have time. You can reset mentally, maybe add a harder lift later to claw back some points. You have room to breathe.
But the short program is, well, it's short.
It is a sprint. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. 7 required elements, and you have to hit every single one. There's absolutely nowhere to hide.
So a fall is just catastrophic.
It's more than that. You don't just lose the points for the jump. You lose the flow, your component scores drop, and, crucially, you lose all your momentum. You can bury your medal chances before the real competition even starts.
And that no room to hide factor claimed some serious victims last night.
It really did.
It was a bloodbath for some of the top teams. But, okay, let's start with the team that survived. The leaders, Germany.
Minerva Haas and Nikita Volodin.
They are sitting in first place with a massive score of 80.01. For someone who maybe only watches skating every 4 years, put 80 points in context for us. Is that good or is that, like, historical?
It's the gold standard. Breaking 80 in the short is, I mean, that's the benchmark for elite gold medal contending teams. It means you were clean, high quality, high artistry.
Oh, okay.
But the context makes it even more impressive. They were the very last pair to skate.
Is that a disadvantage? I always think the ice gets all chewed up.
The ice is definitely rutted, which makes footwork harder. But the mental game is the real enemy. You're backstage, you can hear the crowd, you hear the scores being announced.
Oh, wow.
Haas and Volodin basically stood there and listened as the world champions faltered. They listened as the Italian hometown favorite stumbled. They knew the door was wide open. But they also knew the ice seemed cursed that night.
That sounds just suffocating. You're watching your biggest rivals melt down. The temptation to play it safe must be huge.
It's that classic fight or flight. You either tighten up because you're scared of making the same mistakes, which usually causes you to make them, or you smell blood in the water and you attack.
And Haas and Volodin attacked.
They did. The sources described them as looking unfazed.
And that was the key.
That was everything. They opened with a huge triple twist, but the real statement piece was the throw triple loop.
Break that down. What's a throw triple loop? How is it different from a regular jump?
So in a side-by-side jump, they both jump independently. In a throw, the man, he actually assists the woman. He launches her.
He literally throws her.
He literally throws her. And Volodin got incredible amplitude on this. We're talking a little toss. He launched her halfway across the ring.
Then the landing.
Soft as butter. She just flowed out of it with speed. And Tara Lipinski's reaction on the commentary was so immediate. She just said, nailed it. This changes the game.
Because up until that point, nobody had really nailed anything.
Exactly. Nobody. By skating clean while everyone else was messy, that 80.01 score puts them in a commanding position. The psychological edge of being the only team to break 80 is massive. Going into the free skate, the gold is now theirs to lose.
Theirs to lose. That's a heavy phrase. It shifts all the pressure, doesn't it?
It does.
But let's unpack why they have this lead. You said it was a battle of attrition. The story isn't just that Germany was good, it's that the rest of the top teams, they just grumbled.
It was a domino effect. Just one error after another from teams that are usually rock solid. Let's look at the team in second. The Georgians, Anastasia Milkina, and Luka Barulava.
Okay, and they're not underdogs. They're the 2026 European champions.
Right. They came into Milan hot. And honestly, they started so well. They have this trademark element. They're side-by-side triple salchows.
Why is that so hard to get right? You're just jumping next to each other.
Just jumping is generous. You have to leave the ice at the same millisecond, rotate 3 times at the same speed, and land in perfect unison.
Yeah.
It's incredible timing.
And they nailed that part.
They did. But then came the throw jump, the same type of element the Germans aced.
Uh-oh.
Medalpina stumbled out of landing. Now, she didn't fall, but she had to put a hand down and step out to save it.
To a casual viewer, that doesn't look so bad. She stayed up. Why is that such a big deal?
This is where the grade of execution, or GOE, comes in. Every element has a base value, right?
Right.
But then judges add or subtract points based on quality.
Yeah.
The Germans got huge plus points for their throw. The Georgians got minus points for the stumble. So it's a double whammy. You lose the bonus and you get a deduction.
I see. So that one little stumble is the mathematical difference between first and second.
Precisely. That stumble is the difference between an 80 and a 75. They're sitting in second with 75.46. They are still in the hunt for sure, but they let Germany get away.
Okay, so if Georgia's mistake was a stumble, what happened to the Japanese team? It felt like a shockwave. Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, 2-time world champions.
Arguably the favorites to win gold coming into Milan. I mean, they have been the dominant force for the last few years.
And they ended up in 5th place. 5th. What on earth happened?
It was just heartbreaking. They started well, but then they had a disastrous mistake on a lift.
When you say mistake, are we talking about a wobble or something worse?
It looked like Kihara actually dropped Miura on the exit.
Oh, wow. A drop. That sounds dangerous.
It is. Thankfully, she didn't crash hard. He managed to slow her down. But for the score, it's a catastrophe. If you don't complete the lift, you get 0 points for it.
A 0.
A 0. Plus, it counts as a fall, so you get a deduction on top of that.
So it's not just losing points. It's like getting a 0 on a test question and then getting detention.
That's a great analogy. And you could see it on their faces. Kihara was slumping over in frustration at the end. He knew. Johnny Weir said something that really stuck with me. He said, "You can't win in the short program, but you can certainly lose."
That feels like the tagline for this whole night. You can't win the gold, but you can dig yourself a hole so deep you can't climb out.
And they dug a deep hole. They scored 73.11. They're almost 7 points behind the Germans. Closing a 7-point gap in pairs it's incredibly difficult unless the leaders make a major mistake.
And the carnage didn't stop there. We have to talk about the home team, the Italians, Sarah Conti and Nicola Micci.
The pressure on them must have been immense. Skating in Milan, the bright lights, the crowd wanting it so badly for them, and they're legitimate contenders, bronze medalists at Worlds.
But the ice doesn't care if you're the hometown favorite.
No, it doesn't. And it seemed that way. Conti stumbled out of her side-by-side triple salchow.
Another stumble.
And again, it's that no room to hide factor. When you stumble early, it just shakes your confidence for the rest of the program.
Mm-hmm.
They held it together, but the difficulty levels dropped. They finished in 6th place, scoring in the low 71s.
So let's recap the damage here. You have the Italians in 6th, the Japanese favorites in 5th. This leaderboard is completely unrecognizable.
It is. But you know what they say? Chaos is a ladder. And that chaos opened the door for some incredible stories. And I think we have to talk about the Canadian teams next.
Oh, yeah.
Because they gave us a tale of 2 absolute extremes.
This part really got to me. Let's start with the heartbreak, because it's Deanna Stellato-Dudek.
An absolute legend. She is 42 years old.
42, in a sport where most people retire at 25.
Exactly. She retired, had a whole other life, and came back to the sport. She and Maxime Deschamps are the 2024 world champions. Johnny Weir called her an inspiration, and she is.
But the short program it was devastating to watch.
It was. They had a courageous start. You could see them fighting, but disaster struck on the final lift.
The very last element.
The very end. As Deschamps was placing her down, she lost her balance. She just couldn't get her blade under her, and she crashed to the ice.
And that wasn't a stumble. That was a full fall.
A dramatic crash.
Mm-hmm.
And because it happened on a lift exit, the deductions were severe. They fell all the way to 10th place.
It just feels so cruel. You work for 4 years, you defy age, and then in one split second, it's gone.
That's the brutality of the sport. But on the other side of that coin, the other Canadian team gave us the feel-good moment of the night.
Lee Pereira and Trent Michaud.
Right. Nobody expected them to be medal contenders. They were not in that gold medal conversation.
And yet,
they soared. While the world champions and the hometown favorites were faltering, this young team they stayed in their bubble. They skated a personal best of 74.60.
what was different about them? Was their stuff technically harder or just cleaner?
It was just cleaner and freer. They didn't have the weight of the world on their shoulders. They weren't trying to defend a title. They were just trying to skate their best. They finished the night in third place.
Third place. So they're sitting in a bronze medal position.
They beat the Japanese world champions. They beat the Italians. It's a perfect example of what happens when you just focus on your own performance. They didn't have the pressure, and they used that freedom to just fly.
Speaking of flying, let's pivot to Team USA. They weren't predicted to be on the podium for pairs specifically, but they had a very specific mission, right?
They did, and honestly, they had a fantastic night, especially when you look at their goals. They wanted 2 teams in the top 10, and they did exactly that.
Let's start with Ellie Cam and Danny O'Shea. They came in with some hardware already.
They did. They were already Olympic gold medalists from the team event, so they had that confidence. They'd already stood on that podium.
And there was one moment in their program that just sounded like it defied gravity. The triple twist lift.
Yes. The triple twist is one of the most spectacular elements. The man throws the woman. She rotates 3 times horizontally like a helicopter, and then he catches her.
And what makes a good one?
Height. You want her high enough that she finishes rotating before she starts falling. Tar Lipinski described Ellie Cam as floating down like a feather. We actually have the data on this. The lift reached a max height of 11 feet 5 inches.
11 feet? That's higher than a basketball rim. That is terrifyingly high.
It is huge. And to control the landing so softly from that height, that's incredible technique.
So a personal best skate for them?
It was. Cam did put a hand down on the throw triple loop, so it wasn't flawless like the Germans, but the vibes were just immaculate. Cam broke into this beaming smile. Lipinski even said, this Olympics could not be going better for this team. They finished 7th.
And the other American team, Emily Chan and Spencer Akira Howe.
This was their Olympic debut. For them to even be here is a huge victory. And they went out and skated with total confidence, minimal errors. They scored 70.06, just shy of their personal best, and finished 9th.
So both U.S. teams in the top 9. That feels like a big win for the U.S. program.
Absolutely. Getting 2 teams to perform that solidly on the biggest stage, especially when so many top teams were crashing and burning, is a massive success. They hit their marks when the pressure was off.
So let's zoom out. Let's create a mental map for the listener before the free skate. Who is sitting where?
Okay, so at the top, you've got Germany's Haas and Volodin with that 80.01. They're the clear leaders.
Then
it's a bit of a scramble. Georgia is in second with about 75.5. Then the surprise Canadians, Carrera and Michaud, in third with 74.60.
And Hungary, we shouldn't forget them.
Right. Maria Pavlova and Alexei Sviatchenko. We haven't mentioned them, but they scored a strong 73.87 to sit in 4th. Another team that just capitalized on everyone else's mistakes.
And then the fallen favorites, Japan, in 5th.
Sitting at 73.11.
Okay, so what does this all mean? We have Germany with a 5-point lead, but between 2nd and 5th place, there's only a 2-point spread.
Exactly. That's this. So what here? The scores are incredibly bunched up below first. Germany has breathing room, but the fight for silver and bronze is going to be a dogfight.
And it comes back to that idea of consistency.
It does. This proved consistency beats reputation. Germany and the underdog Canadians didn't have the highest difficulty on paper, but when the ice is slippery, physically and metaphorically, the team that stays on its feet wins.
It really feels like a lesson in pressure management. The teams that stayed in their own bubble, Germany, the young Canadians, the Americans, they succeeded. The ones carrying the weight of expectation, Japan, Italy, they buckled.
It's the difference between skating to win and skating not to lose. Germany skated to win.
So heading into the free skate, we have a German lead, a Canadian surprise, and a Japanese redemption arc all set up.
And don't count the Japanese out. They are fighters, but they have a mountain to climb.
It's going to be a fascinating conclusion. I want to leave you with this thought. In a sport where you're thrown 11 feet into the air, we talk a lot about gravity. But looking at these results, I have to wonder, is it the physical gravity that brings you down or the gravity of the moment?
That is the question. Can the favorites reset their mental state in just 24 hours to chase down the Germans?
You'll have to watch the free skate to find out. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.